Hello everyone and welcome back to the Crimeland channel. In Mumbai lived the Gaud family, consisting of Mr. and Mrs. Gaud with their two children, Rohit, age 10, and Pooja, age 7. The two siblings would walk to and from school together, and their parents were at ease leaving them alone since the school was nearby. On January 22, 2013, as always, Pooja and Rohit went to school. Their parents had given them a small allowance to buy a treat, but Rohit had to manage it, which Pooja didn't like. During the journey, Pooja wanted to buy the treat before entering the school, while Rohit insisted on not stopping to avoid being late. At the school entrance, Pooja stopped and announced that she wouldn't move without her treat. Worried about being late, Rohit rushed inside without looking back. After classes, Rohit waited for Pooja, but she didn't show up. Worried, he ran home to inform their parents, who immediately contacted the police. The case was handed over to Inspector Rajendra Bhosla, an expert in disappearance cases who had solved many disappearances in the past. News of Pooja's disappearance quickly spread throughout Mumbai. Many shops began displaying her photo, but despite the efforts of law enforcement, there was no trace of the girl. As days passed, only false leads came in, draining valuable resources from the police. Unfortunately, while the search was underway, Pooja had already been kidnapped by two unknown individuals, a man and a woman who had approached her in front of the school. Pooja, lagging behind, had been lured by them with the promise of ice cream. Once they were away, they forced her into their car and drove off to Goa, about a 12-hour drive. During the journey, the woman and the man began brainwashing Pooja, telling her that her parents no longer wanted her and that they would take care of her. Pooja, believing the kidnappers' words, felt sad and disoriented. But soon they began treating her well, buying her clothes and toys, lavishing her with attention. After a few days in Goa, the kidnappers moved to Karnataka, where Pooja began to feel increasingly lonely and scared. They threatened her if she showed any signs of rebellion, forcing her to pretend they were her new parents. They even enrolled her in a local school and started making her live an apparently normal life. Over time, Pooja's life unfolded between moments of normality and psychological abuse. When questioned about why she had to pretend to be the kidnapper's daughter, she received aggressive responses and severe punishments for every question, with the two threatening her with further consequences. 5 years passed, during which Pooja stopped wondering about her real parents, having grown up in an environment where she had to obey and not show any signs of rebellion. Meanwhile, in Mumbai, the search for Pooja intensified, but people eventually forgot her over time. In 2018, another lead emerged but turned out to be false. However, Pooja's story resurfaced thanks to the YouTube boom, with videos and news reports once again showing her face. In Karnataka, Pooja was now 12 years old and had completely immersed herself in her new life, unaware of her origins. Her kidnappers justified the ban on access to any news or devices that could connect her to the outside world, with the alleged need to protect her sensitivity. Now a 16-year-old, Pooja found herself in a complex situation. While living in her new home, she increasingly succumbed to the belief that her new parents were right and had saved her. However, the situation changed drastically when, towards the end of 2018, the kidnapper's woman, Soni, discovered she was pregnant. This news led to a tightening of Henry and Soni's behavior towards Pooja. Thus began a period of severe abuse and mistreatment, with physical punishments for every little infraction, taking advantage of the girl's vulnerability. The two families desperately needed financial resources as they were preparing to welcome a real child. They pulled the girl out of school, arguing that it was not worth investing money in her education, and forced her to work as a domestic servant. Pooja began to work exhausting shifts, sometimes 12, 24 hours long, without receiving a single penny, with all her earnings ending up in Henry and Soni's pockets. Abuse continued, with Pooja forced to endure severe physical violence. Once, Henry hit her so hard with a rolling pin that it caused open wounds. Her life was a nightmarish hell, and as the situation worsened, she began to consider escaping, despite the difficulties. But when COVID struck in 2020, It forced Pooja and her kidnappers to spend more time together, which only increased opportunities for mistreatment and abuse. However, amid all this, Pooja befriended a 35-year-old babysitter, Pramila, who worked in the same house and shared a difficult past. Gradually, the two grew closer, but the friendship was not permitted. Nonetheless, Pooja felt less alone and began to confide in Pramila. As the years passed, Pooja's life was spent between abuse, forced labor, and rare joys, like her friendship with Pramila. In 2022, one evening, while her kidnappers were distracted, Pooja seized the opportunity to steal Henry's cell phone. Curious, she searched on YouTube for her name, Pooja Gaud, and to her shock discovered that she had been kidnapped and that her family had been searching for her for years. Overwhelmed with anguish, Pooja realized that her biological parents had not abandoned her. That very morning, she confided in Pramila, who promised to help her. Pramila researched online about Pooja's kidnapping and found contact numbers for the police. Determined to reach out to her family, Pooja, with Pramila as a lookout, tried to call the numbers. While the first three did not answer, on the fourth call, a man named Rafiq picked up. He was a neighbor of her parents who had known her as a child. Unable to contain her joy, Pooja recounted everything that had happened to her to the connection. Rafiq, immediately recognizing her voice, rushed to inform Pooja's mother. Upon hearing her daughter's voice, Pooja's mother immediately recognized her, despite the years of absence. After learning the home address, Pooja felt hope for the first time. With Pramila, she headed to a place she hadn't visited in a long time. Discovering that the distance between her kidnapper's house and her original home was just 500 meters, she felt her heart swell with emotion. When she finally arrived, she embraced her mother and brother, but she couldn't do the same with her father, who had died years earlier, unaware that his daughter was alive and safe. They told the police everything that had happened during the past 9 years, including the abuses she had suffered. She guided the police to the kidnapper's house, and the intervention was swift, resulting in the immediate arrest of Henry and Sony. This occurred on August 4th, 2022, the day when news of Pooja's rescue spread around the world. Her parents, finally reunited with her, began a long process of recovery and healing, facing the traumas caused by her disappearance and the life spent with her kidnappers. Their story became a symbol of hope and resilience. With the support of doctors, psychologists, and the community, Pooja began to reclaim lost time. Facing the reality of the years of abuse and the false beliefs instilled by her kidnappers was a long and complex process. But with each passing day, Pooja felt stronger. Meanwhile, the police began building the case against Henry and Sony. This process was crucial not only for achieving justice for Pooja, but also served as a warning to other families and society in general to pay more attention to issues related to child disappearance and abuse. During the investigation, further disturbing details about Henry and Sony's life emerged. The couple had planned the kidnapping with the intention of using Pooja as a substitute for the child they could not conceive, which sparked outrage among the community and across the country. Public opinion mobilized to ensure that justice was served. Not only did the media continue to follow the trial, but many people began organizing public meetings to raise awareness about child protection. This widespread support provided Pooja with a sense of community and belonging, essential for her healing. As the trial began, Pooja and her family faced the reality of rebuilding their lives. Pooja's parents realized the lasting impact that the experience would have on them and their daughter. They worked together to create a safe and loving environment where Pooja could feel at home. Now a teenager, Pooja continued to reflect on what had happened. Despite the pain, she also desired to help other children in similar situations. She began participating in awareness campaigns, using her story to educate others about the dangers and promote greater awareness of child abduction. Years passed, and while Pooja's case represented just one of the thousands of stories of kidnapping and abuse, her courage became an inspiration for many. Her family joined the idea of protecting children, actively working with organizations focused on child safety. In her journey of healing, Pooja continued to show resilience. The wounds of the past began to slowly heal as she built her future, pursuing her dreams and desires. What she had experienced made her stronger and more determined to live a full life, rich with joy and meaning. In conclusion, Pooja's story is a powerful example of hope, resilience, and the importance of family and community. Her experience underscores the necessity of caring for the most vulnerable in society and never forgetting the strength that can emerge from suffering. Pooja's journey is not only a tale of fear and abuse, but also one of love, rebirth, and a new life where she found her voice and her place in the world.